Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network. We're GABNET, and we've got you covered live 5 nights a week. First Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, it's The Exchange.
Facebook group called Star Trek Discovery. Somebody posted, this was the worst episode ever. It was just a bunch of people on the ship talking. and I just have to say...
Have they not seen Star Trek before?
Yeah, I just have to say, if you are looking for action and explosions, you are likely to be disappointed by Star Trek. May I recommend another viewing of Star Wars?
Tuesday through Friday at 10 Eastern. Join Alex Bennett on the Ramble.
So I just had to bear it as it was trying to heal. And then I would be sleeping on my stomach, and then I would turn around, and it had adhered itself to the sheets. And so whatever scab I had, are you ready for this, folks? Whatever scab I had would get ripped off, and I'd be bleeding like a stuck pig. And so I had to finally, you couldn't put a Band-Aid on it. You know, it was in a place you just had to wait for it to finally take care of itself.
Tuesday through Friday at midnight, The Intersection.
Well, you know, we have to get rid of Pence as well, because Pence is an end-timer.
You know, and we need to say to Pence, you know, you're damn right. I want a rapture because I want fools like you off of my planet.
If you like sports, we've got that too, with The Arena, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
The Jesus guy in San Francisco, when you go down 19th Avenue, the guy with the pink phone.
Okay.
I know you met him before. I know you've seen him before.
Okay, what about him?
The one that says, when you're walking down the street, he walks up to you with the pink phone and he says, Jesus is on the phone.
Oh, okay. All right.
And he tries to hand it to you, and you're like, wait a second. Now he's walking around with Jimmy Garoppolo's on the phone. You gotta answer.
Finally, you can get hot and bothered on Connections at 10 p.m. Eastern Monday, and by delay Tuesday through Friday at 1 a.m. Eastern.
So, Lizzie, you say you never cheated in a relationship.
Nope.
But you do understand cheating. And I'm pretty sure you may have done that in some way, shape, or form, just not in the relationship. You ever cheat on a test? You ever cheat on your diet?
Yeah, my pregnancy.
Yeah. I failed.
Dang it! It says no.
Last test I took, I failed.
Yeah, 2 tests you don't want positive, right? HIV and pregnancy.
Catch up on all the shows with our weekend flashback. All shows have the Citizen Panel, an exclusive concept of GABNET. It's new, it's daring, it's talk like you've never heard it before. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey! Hey everybody, how are you? It's Alex, and it is the Ramble, and the Ramble goes from now, of course, until midnight Eastern Time here on the right coast of the United States of America. From New York, the city's so nice they named it twice. Yada! Okay, we got a guest tonight, and it's a video one, and well, it's for me, and many times it's like going back into the past. Ladies and gentlemen, looking at you on the screen is, I refer to her as my second ex-wife. That is Ronnie Bennett from Lake Oswego, Oregon. And we were talking earlier about the fact that in Oregon you can get pot for recreational purposes, but you can also die with dignity by having them prescribe a suicide pill, right?
Yes, you can do both.
Yeah, you could like
I don't know about both together, but
first my suggestion is first you smoke the pot, then you take the pill.
Well, that would be a good order.
Okay, yes. So you'll be high while you're going. What a wonderful state you live in. Where do I get one of those?
We're not the only one. There are 5 or 6 or 8 others, you know.
Yeah. But
when you go to the dispensaries, you have to go to a special store.
Yeah.
And when you go to the dispensaries, they're as beautiful and clean and out as pharmacies, and the buds are in these little bowls, and they each have names, and the people they are so knowledgeable. They're mostly very young, and they're very knowledgeable about this kind does this is good for music, and this is good for sex, and this is good for aches and pains or whatever, or it's really quite an experience to go there. It's a whole different kind of place.
Yeah. You mean the pot store? This is not the death store.
Yeah. No, the pot store.
Yeah. So really, you have you have the best of both worlds up there, I guess. So that's good. That's cool. So anyway, what is the biggest issue among your older readers? Now, you see, your readers are older. Although I would imagine you have a few young people.
Pretty old.
Well, yeah, but I would imagine you have some young ones who are curious about what it's going to be like.
People in their. I have a few readers in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Some people think is old. I don't anymore. And yeah, I would say about 5 to 10% of my readers are young.
Yeah. So, since you basically have older readers, what are their major concerns right now? In other words, in my case, I would say it would probably still have to do with health and with drug plans and what's going to happen to Medicare, what's going to happen to things like that. Would that be the major topic that they're interested in?
No, I think that old people are interested in all the same things that young people are. We don't have to worry if you're retired, if you're that old, you don't have to worry any longer much about, jobs and keeping your job or finding a new job or getting a raise and all of those complications that we spend most of our life doing. Health takes a greater part of our time because most of the health problems in the world are, old people have. Doesn't mean young people don't get sick, but you get sicker as you get older. So that's important, and they make it very difficult. The programs, the insurance companies, Medicare, Part D in particular, make it as difficult as possible, it seems to me, to get it worked out of what's the best plan for you. So once a year, you spend a lot of time on that. But I don't want old people to be defined by their health, good or bad, any more than somebody who is 30 is defined by their health. And I don't mean that in public policy. I mean that in general attitude toward old people.
But let me be honest about something. When I go out to dinner with a bunch of people, and usually they're older, okay, because I don't hang around with kids anymore, the main topic of conversation at dinner becomes health. How's your health doing? How did you find a good doctor for that? Hey, what about your drug plan? Have you got a better drug plan than I do? I mean, all of a sudden, you don't even have to put it on the agenda. That becomes the topic du jour.
Yes, and I think that I've been thinking about that very hard recently. And I think it's because most people are healthy through most of their lives, that we don't much have to unless you're very unlucky and get some terrible diseases in your 20s, 30s, 40s. You go through life, you have a flu now and again, different things happen, you go to the doctor, you have them fixed. But when you, after a certain age, it's just one damn thing after another, because that is the nature of living a long life. You can die young and not have those problems, or you can have a longer life. And our culture, our society doesn't prepare us for the amount of health problems we're going to have and the difficulties we're going to have making them work with the healthcare community. Mm-hmm. And that gives us very good reason to be comparing notes a lot, because we have no experience at it. It's brand new when you hit that age. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to talk about and find out what your friends are doing. When I was looking for a doctor, when a doctor just dismissed me with some symptoms saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's probably just a virus. and walked out of the room. I said, "Oh, I think I need a new doctor."
Yeah. Well, let me just remind people that a while back you had a touch of the cancer. I remember little Richard used that as an excuse why he didn't show up somewhere once by saying,
that phrase, exactly?
Yes, I had a touch of the cancer.
That's wonderful. Yes, I had a touch of pancreatic cancer. And I got incredibly lucky, and a few weeks ago, after some tests, CT scan and some other tests, they told me that I'm cancer-free. So, but I spent, for the past 8 months, I have spent a lot of time with doctors and at medical centers. And, but it struck me recently, and I've been rethinking some of what I had been believing about it being unfair to characterize old people as mostly just talking about what some people call their organ recitals. And I've really come to like the phrase now, you know. And of course we're interested because there's just so damned much of it. If you yourself are healthy, you know people who aren't, or who just got a terrible diagnosis, or have chronic diseases that are hard to work with. And we don't have any information about living with these things until we get old. So why shouldn't we be talking about it with our friends?
Yeah, well, but I'm saying that when you get together with other old people, that becomes a major topic. I mean,
and I just told you why.
Yeah. So I find that I'm always talking about it. Well, I was always talking about it when I was in my 30s.
Yeah. There's that hypochondriac word, you know.
Yeah. I found out that I was always a hypochondriac when times were good. When times are bad, I wasn't hypochondriacal. In other words, when I was out of work and I was scraping for a job, didn't feel sick at all, right? But the minute everything was good,
but it's not my memory.
You don't remember it that way. I see.
No,
okay.
No.
All right.
By the way, speaking of memory, I have a story from our marriage years.
Oh God! Do we want to drag out that? What? Go ahead.
No, and I'm not sure I remember it properly. So I want to tell you, and I want you see how you remember it.
Okay.
And this came up because the other day I realized that this must be the time of year for it. There are tons of commercials on television about dating websites. You know, you go in and record things, and there's been a push since Christmas of commercials on this. And I thought about this is early 60s. You were doing the show in Houston. I was producing it. Mm-hmm. And one of the very earliest dating systems came to us about doing a show about it, and this was one where you had to mail away. Remember this is snail mail, and they would send you a long form you had to fill out and answer questions about all the things you were interested in and cared about and that sort of stuff. Then you had to mail it back, and what they were going to do for our show is put it through their database, if there was such a thing as a database in the early 60s, and I guess it was mid-60s.
There was, but they were all on these punch cards.
Okay, well, anyway, they would put it through their system in some manner. And what they were going to do for the show is they were the closest match of whatever people said they wanted in the opposite sex, because we weren't doing gay people back in those days. They would find the people who were most closely matched. And then they got to go out to dinner and go to something or another, and it was all paid for. I remember that much, and I'm confident in that part of the memory, okay? Mm-hmm. What I also remember, but I'm not sure if it's so, is that sometime later, weeks or months, the guy in the couple that they found the closest match.
Oh, hold on a second.
Was arrested for.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. We're breaking up here a little bit. Let's just pause a second. Okay, he was arrested. Yeah.
And I think it was for doing things you shouldn't do with little boys. Do I remember that correctly?
You do remember that correctly. They had a date. I remember that she didn't like him. It turned out to be
I don't have any memory
It
of that.
turned out to be a flop of a date, if I remember correctly. And then several months later, he was arrested for pederasty or whatever.
Okay, so I'm not fooling myself.
Yeah,
It really did happen.
I think that was the end of me ever running dating contests on radio.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Just wanted to check on that.
I do remember that. I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember how it turned out, which was not nice.
No.
not nice. So, what would you say then? You say the major concerns of people in your group, your audience, is the same things that are affecting kids? Because I don't think kids care too much about what's going on. I don't think they give a shit whether Trump's president or not.
I'm not comparing them to kids. I'm just saying that old people aren't all that different from people of every other age, adults of any other age. You have the same. Some are really concerned with politics, and and sometimes I veer over into it since this past election. Others, I get cancellations when I write about Trump or the federal government. Sometimes they don't. There are people who don't want to read that stuff, and so they unsubscribe. Politics and books and their grandchildren and their families and whatever they've had all their lives. They're not any different than they were at 40, except they don't have to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that we separate old people so much from the rest of the culture. You don't go to work anymore. Nobody's interested in what you think anymore. They care, I guess, at voting time because we vote in larger numbers. But people don't really know what we're like. They think we're crippled and sick and have probably forgotten anything we ever knew, if we knew anything to begin with. You cross this divide. There's a certain moment.
Well, I mean, we mentioned this. We mentioned this the last time we talked, I think, and that is that with the younger people, with the rest of the population, as the older you get, the more invisible you become.
Right.
I mean, I walk down the street now, and I doubt if anybody really pays any attention to me. Where in the old days, some people would pay attention to me.
This is really, I read something really interesting online somewhere about that women learn this much younger than men do. Mm-hmm. There's a certain place, usually between 35 and 40, maybe a little past 40, when you walk down the street and you realize, or in a store or anything, you're invisible, absolutely invisible, exactly what you're saying. Men don't get that. They get a few more years, up to a decade longer than women, before you guys get invisible.
I know, I agree. Yeah.
And then you get it. And we're losing a lot of expertise. Old people, lots of old people, volunteer and are really interested in that and giving back. And that's one of the places where young people, very young people, particularly teens and 20s, cross over with old people and get to know each other and volunteer organizations, whether it's their church or Meals on Wheels or whatever, food pantries or whatever it is that they do to volunteer. That's where different age groups, it's one of the few places where they commonly come together. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Now, I would say that because of your subject matter, your audience isn't necessarily left or right, okay? Because the things you're talking about are not political at this. Now, let me get up to this. But you can't avoid dealing with Trump and with how how he would affect and how he is affecting older people. Mm-hmm. And so do you get any heat from like your readers who are like Trump fans saying, oh no, it isn't that bad, trying to justify it?
Here's an interesting tidbit about Republicans of a certain kind, and I don't have those readers because they unsubscribe all the time or quit coming to the site. And the reason is, and if they don't go away, they, unlike Democrats, you've got to say it, are so vile in their comments. And they attacked me, or they attack other people who have commented that they don't agree with in really nasty ways. Democrats don't do that. excuse me, and I've had a rule on my blog for a decade or more, is that you can argue. Argue is a good thing. Let's have a good discussion. But you cannot attack me personally or anybody else who has written in the comments personally. And they invariably do, the Republicans or the Trump supporters. So, and if you do it, you only get one chance at that on my blog all these years. If you do that, I delete it and I block you from ever commenting again. No recourse. I don't tell you. It's just done. You won't be allowed to comment ever again. Because it destroys a conversation.
Yes,
if you allow that
absolutely.
To go on.
Absolutely.
So they don't stick around, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So in other words, so do you feel that your audience then is more to the left than it is to the right?
Yes, and that's very interesting considering that the oldest generation is mostly Republican or lean right wing.
Why would the older population be Republican? Do liberals die early because we did all those drugs or whatever?
It's always been that way, and that people, as they get older, become more conservative. And I don't understand that. Except do you not want the world to change?
Well, I think part of the problem is that as you get older, you have more of a vested interest in this country, and you've made a living. Maybe you've made a lot of money, and therefore money sometimes. I mean, I've made a lot of money in my time, and I never found myself going conservative. Never found myself going right, ever. Okay, but a lot of people I know who, the minute they made money, all of a sudden became conservatives, became right-wingers, and you may be right. Older people are probably more conservative than younger people.
Well, that's what all the surveys show. And it really annoys me because particularly this administration, more than the Republicans when we were younger, really wants to destroy the safety net, not just for old people, although it's mostly for old people, but there's plenty there for younger people, disabled people, and there's systematically, both Trump and the people he's appointed to those cabinet posts are systematically doing away with them. I mean, since they can't just vote Medicare out or Social Security, they keep picking away at it in little pieces, a little piece here, a little piece there, each year as much as they can. And it just keeps getting to be more and more difficult for people who need those services.
Yeah.
And a lot of old people go along with that. And I find that really disturbing. I don't understand voting against your own best interests. I just don't get it.
Yeah. I can't see why a person who is over the age of 65 would vote for somebody who's against Medicare, as an example. Okay. Because there's no reason to be against Medicare if you're an older person.
I was so healthy all my life that I didn't know much about it until I got sick last June.
Yeah.
And I've now spent 8 or 9 months Medicare, the supplemental that I bought, and the Part D prescription drug plan. And it has covered everything. Nobody has ever questioned anything that the doctors wanted to do. It was just done, and it was paid for the most part. In fact, the most expensive part of my treatment is the drugs. I pay a much higher percentage, way higher percentage for drugs, even though I'm doing fairly well. I've got good prices on my drugs. Than I did for any of the procedures and surgeries and office visits and that sort of thing. And it's simple. I don't do anything. I walk in, we do whatever we're going to do, the doctors and the nurses and me, and they take care of all the paperwork. I don't do anything.
Right.
The only hard one I've had is choosing a Part D plan, a prescription drug plan every year, because they change every single year, and a drug that cost almost nothing last year can be triple, even, well, we all know about Martin Shkreli, thousands of times more expensive than it was last year. And he's not the only one doing it. Drug companies are doing it too, just not quite so flamboyantly.
I'll give you an example of something. The one pill I do take that's expensive is Cialis, and I take it for benign prostate hyperplasia. I don't take it because I need a boner. I'm getting too old to need one anyway. So, I'm fighting to get the company to my doctor has written a letter of necessity, and we'll see what happens. But I read that Medicare absolutely will not pay for it because it is like $325 a month, which is that's for daily Cialis, which is what you take for BPH. $325 is the going rate on Cialis. So Medicare won't even pay for Cialis no matter what's wrong with you, but they will pay if you want to have a penis pump installed.
That's very funny. Is the reason that you're using Cialis, is that an accepted, officially accepted
FDA has approved
use of it?
FDA has approved Cialis for benign prostate hyperplasia. Yeah. That they found that the side benefit of Cialis.
Medicare does it.
Huh? Yeah, I know.
That makes sense about Medicare.
I think it's because the drug is so damn expensive. And I think part of their problem is they want you to justify, they want your doctors to justify it, because a lot of people would say, well, I've got a big prostate, I need it, but what they really need it for is the bone.
Of course they would.
Okay.
Sure they would. I can understand for that reason for them questioning it, but they still should pay for it once a doctor has...
Yeah, but I don't know if Medicare Part D does. I read that it will not take care of Cialis under any conditions. So, whatever. That's the way things go. But what insurance do you have as a supplemental that has been good for you?
It's the one from AARP.
Yeah, ARP has usually been the best.
And they label the different kinds A, B, C, D, through I don't know whatever. I use F, which is the most comprehensive one, and probably the most expensive.
How much do they charge a month for that? Now,
now I'm paying about $225.
Now you see, $225. She's paying $225. I'm paying for my supplemental at the union $178 a month, and that includes dental and pharmacy as well.
Oh, I have no dental.
See,
I've got $35,000 worth of dental work in my mouth.
But that's about the reason why I've got like one of the best plans. I mean, they really do take care of you, this union. But anyway, the fact is that people don't realize that just because you've got Medicare, it only takes care of 80%. You got to fill in that other 20%, so you get a supplemental, and the supplemental is like for her $223 a month. So I mean,
well, if you look at that compared to two things, the amount of money that I would have had to pay out of pocket that I don't have to pay during these last 8-9 months. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars we're talking about. I just couldn't have had the treatment. I don't have that kind of money. And that's the other side of it. There's no recourse if you don't have the coverage and you don't have the money.
Right.
You go home and
anyway, we're just telling you folks this so you know what to plan for in the future. This is your life coming up, and all the things you're going to have to deal with and figure out. And you're going to have to...
that's one of the things that worries me, that after my surgery, there were several weeks where I have, as some people call it, anesthesia brain, and then after I started chemo brain, and I didn't think, quite arrogantly, I didn't think it really affected me much. It took me until I started getting over it to realize how impaired my thinking had been. In my case, it was particularly slow. And sometimes in the early time, soon after the surgery and during the chemo, I would go to read a sentence and I could feel a little hiccup of space as I read through the sentence, that I understood each word, but it took a part of a second for me to put the whole sentence together to what it means.
Right.
And and now that's gone away again, now that I've got enough distance between me and those events. But what about people who, they can take care of themselves, they can get things done, they live on their own or not, but they're slower than they used to be. Everything gets slower as you get older. And how do they deal with it? There were times when I was near tears during the 2 days I went through trying to figure out a new Part D, if I wanted a new Part D policy. And if I had been trying to do that with chemo brain, I'm not so sure I could have done it at all.
Hey, listen, I looked at the clock. We have whizzed past 25 minutes. And
I'm not sure we should subject people to watching this.
I think so. I think so. I think it's important for them to hear, and I think you're very informed on this area. And everything else, I disagree with you. But on this area, it's my job as an ex-husband. I've got to take that position. Ronnie,
I wanted to
what?
Talk to you about the Oscars.
Oh, well, what about the Oscars? Forget about it. We can go a couple of more minutes. The hell with this audience. What? Yeah, the Oscars.
Did you watch?
Did I watch the Oscars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched them.
Well, I'm writing about it for tomorrow, so that's what's on my brain for my blog post tomorrow. I have very mixed feelings about it. It was kind of exciting, the diversity and the inclusion of Muslims and immigrants and people of all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, and women, of course, coming off, starting with Harvey Weinstein, that seems to have changed things for a while. But I had very mixed feelings. You also had, if you remember, Sandra Bullock, when she came out on stage, I think she was doing a presentation, she said, lower the lights. She said, no, lower them further. Lower them further. I don't want people to know how old I am. I wanted to smash your face to the There's nothing wrong with getting old. And Jane Fonda did the same kind of thing when she came out with Helen Mirren. She said something, and I think that Helen Mirren's in her early 70s. I think Jane Fonda is 80.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I'm glad to know that somebody like Oscar, it was the 90th Oscar, is older than we are. This is how pervasive ageism is and how hated old people are. Nobody will say we hate old people.
Yeah.
But
you've got to appreciate
it, every place.
If you put Jane Fonda, a master class in facial reconstruction, okay, next to Helen Mirren, who is gotten old with grace, okay, I'll take Helen Mirren every day,
She's quite a lady.
She's quite a lady, and she knows how to give away a jet ski too. So
wasn't that funny? I thought that was the weirdest thing. Apparently, nobody wanted it except that one guy.
But anyway, hey,
it also got the lowest ratings of any Oscar show ever.
Really?
Like you and me and all of our friends, I think it's fading from society.
No, I don't think it's fading. I think that the problem this year is that most of the results were predictable. They were all very predictable.
Oh, I have to tell you something funny about one of the results.
Yeah.
What I discovered now that I'm, for the time being, it can always recur, but for the time being, I'm free of pancreatic cancer. I have discovered I don't want to hear the word anymore, right?
Right.
And I just, let it go and get on with living. And of course, every time I turn around, somebody is talking about pancreatic cancer, or it's a plot point in a movie. It drives me crazy. So before the Oscars, I decided that I liked it because of the actress, the star, but I also loved the name of 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Minnesota, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so the night before, I pulled it up on Amazon on television and watched it, and I find out the sheriff has got pancreatic cancer, and it's a big.
Well, I'm happy because the film I want.
Didn't think about it for 35 years, and now it's everywhere.
The film that won is the film I wanted to have win, so I was very happy with it. It's one of the few years the one I rooted for won. I didn't think Shape of Water would win, but it did. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is a beautiful movie. You would love it. I know what you like and don't like, and you would love this film.
How do you know my tastes haven't changed?
Well, I think you have always been. You've always kind of liked things that had a certain, almost fairy tale quality. I don't know how to describe it, but
no, not fairy tale.
Well, anyway, this is the creature from the Black Lagoon meets Beauty. And it's a wonderful picture and wonderfully acted, and the cinematography, everything terrific. Anyway, hey, listen, we got to go. Otherwise, this audience is going to be mad because I'm not going to be talking to them. It's worth talking to you. Okay.
Oh, don't say that about your viewers.
I know they know. I give them
nice.
I give them a bad time. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
All right. I give them a bad time, and they know
All right.
that.
Till next time.
So, till next time, ladies and gentlemen, that is, as I say, my former ex-wife. I don't know how you describe it now. Ronnie Bennett, the only one in this group who actually legally has the last name Bennett. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And that's my ex-wife, and we have her on every couple of weeks because she really knows her stuff, you know, about aging. And it's a subject that's kind of a favorite of mine because you can see, you know, there. And wait a minute, I'll take off the hat. See, I must be proud of being old. The only reason I got the hat on now is I need a haircut, and my hair is like going every which way. So anyway, listen, it's time for us to open up our Skype lines and to talk to the citizen panel. In case you don't know what that is, the citizen panel is more than one person at a time talking to me. Okay? In fact, it can be, we have had like 12 or 13 at a time, but that's too much. But we go upwards to 10 people if need be, all talking together with each other. And it's kind of like a bunch of people sitting around in their living room talking. So you'll get an idea of what the Citizens Panel is all about. But anyway, it's time for you to call. If you want to call the program, go to gabnet.net. Over on the right-hand side of the page is all the information you'll need. You won't even miss the show, by the way, if you're watching it, because over there it's playing right on the website. So go over there. Over on the right-hand side of the page, everything you want to know about calling us and using Skype and so on. Even a little thing you can click and directly just call us. You don't even have to go through the process of figuring out how to call us. You just open your Skype that you've newly minted and brought down, and then you put it up in the, you turn it on, you make sure it's on, and then you click the button that says call with a Skype logo, and it calls our number right here. And so now this is the point in the program where I sit here waiting for people to call us. Who knows if they will or if they want to, okay? But this is while we wait. And then I sit here and I feel like there's going to be a day when I do this and nobody's going to call. Watch. Hey, look who's here already. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of GABNet, ladies and gentlemen, it's Rob Alfano. Hello, Rob.
Hey, how are you?
Say, this is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, and they'll know who you are.
Well, before I do,
yeah,
I don't know what it is, but I can't see your video, not on the page, not in YouTube. I hear it.
Well, I know it's going out because I can see that it's going out.
I see that you see it right behind you because I see me there in your monitor. But when, like, I'm on your page right now and all I see is blank. And I don't know if that's my browser.
On the GABNet page, it's there right now, live.
I see it in your picture, but I don't see it on my browser. I'm seeing the same thing, only it's all gray.
Do you go over to the gabnet.net? Are you on gabnet.net?
Yeah, that's right.
It will right in that rectangle in the bottom. Are you using Chrome?
Yep.
Look at that. You know, that's weird. That's very weird because you're using Chrome. Refresh that. Let's see what happens if you refresh.
Reopened it. I've done, when you refresh it, that comes up.
There you go. Yeah.
It spins and then it goes away.
Really?
Yeah. See?
That's very strange. That's something.
And the same thing's going on when I go to YouTube. So I did the same thing. I went to YouTube.
Wow. Because I don't have that problem at all here. You know.
So I'm at YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to type in, because I don't know the exact page, I'm just going to type in Alex Bennett. Oops.
Let me see here. Type in Alex Bennett. Yeah.
And there you are. Here's the Ramble, right? See it there?
Yeah.
I click on that.
And nothing. Now, you don't have that same problem, do you, Phil?
I was watching you on the GABNet site.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See,
but he comes up blank on the GABNet site.
Gab and in YouTube.
Let me see what else I can do.
Which leaves me to believe that maybe your Chrome is missing a thing or something.
Maybe I need to reboot this computer. I don't know.
Yeah, see, he's got it.
Okay, so it must be me.
Yeah, there it is, and it's there. I am. Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay.
So it's something with your Chrome. You might try Safari or something else and see if it works with one of the others.
This is a PC. I only have Chrome installed. Wait a minute. Do I have?
No,
what about the E one? What's the?
The Edge.
Yeah. No. I don't think
Windows
it's Edge.
Yeah.
It's the old Chrome.
Oh. Wait, the old Chrome. You mean
Explorer?
You can't. They don't. You usually can't download it onto Windows anymore. They make you use this thing called Edge, which is their new version of Explorer.
Okay.
But,
now I see it.
Now you see it.
When I use Edge.
Yeah.
So my version of Chrome
there's something there. Something that's jacked. Yeah.
That's good.
That's weird. Well, you know what I find? This is a problem that I have with just, this is one of the great problems I've had with this thing that we do here. And that is having to deal with all the different browsers.
Yeah.
Because every browser reads things differently.
Right.
Like I've got a thing up there. If you try to do the listen to us using that tune-in thing at the top of the page, on Safari it won't work if you have Safari. And on Edge, it'll give you a big, gigantic other a page that comes up. They're all different, and you can't. So what I do is I say, look, I'm going to default to Chrome because Chrome has the most users, all right, and then everybody else can fight for themselves. But that little thing I have that says Safari and other browsers use this, I like that because at least on Chrome it comes up in the corner and it runs no matter what page you're going to and whatever. So I'm thinking of doing away with the tune-in thing and putting a thing there that says click here to, listen to, because it works on most browsers. However, it doesn't work on, what's that one? Firefox.
That's the other browser I usually have on my.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't use either. I don't use the Internet Explorer, the Microsoft browsers. I use either Firefox or mostly Chrome.
Yeah. And now, here at this program, I use an encoder on my Mac called Nicecast to encode the program to go to the server. They just put up a notice. They're closing down Nicecast.
Oh, nice.
I mean, the company isn't closing down. They're just closing down Nicecast. And I'm going, why? Why don't you just come up with something new? I paid $50 for it for a lifetime thing with it. I guess lifetime means until they decide not to do it anymore.
They're like,
oh, you have 14 years.
Huh?
They tell me only about 14 more years.
14 more years. So that is that's going the way of all flesh. But I mean, I can find another browser. That's not a browser, but a encoder. But I like this. It's been a great encoder. I don't know why they don't want to just keep it up to date. And they say it'll keep working until Macintosh or Apple decides to change their OS enough that it doesn't work with it. Right. Okay. But that could be a couple of years. But then I got a call this morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, which is early for me because I usually go to bed about 2:30. And from Jack Bishop, because Amy called him in a panic. She does this thing at another place where she does a show once a week for the internet, pays him something like $200 a month to do it or something like that. And she's panicked because their Skype, it's the newer Skype and it won't work. She can't figure out how to do group calls, which you can do with it. It just doesn't have as many bells and whistles on it. Okay. So I said, you just go on, you get the classic Skype. Like I've told you guys, there's a classic Skype. If you go over there, there's a drop-down menu, and one of the drop-downs is classic Skype. I went over there, and classic Skype is gone. You know, you can still get the other version of it, but you know why Classic Skype is gone, according to Skype? Because they found that the installation program had bugs in it and was causing your machine to be compromised. But once it's installed, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I wrote Jack a note with the thing they put out about it, and then on the bottom in big bold letters I wrote bullshit. You know, they just want everybody to upgrade to this new, more horrible version of Skype. So,
well, yeah. I mean, let's face it. They don't want to keep supporting older versions.
Yeah.
It costs money to do that.
Yeah, and I need this version because the newer version doesn't look as good. I would have a bunch of bubbles and things like that on the screen, and people's pictures would be changing, and I don't want that. That's not my.
That must be a Windows thing because I just looked. It says I have the newest version.
Yeah, they haven't
759.
Yeah, they haven't changed it yet. You know, they haven't changed it yet. So.
But even though it says I'm using the newest version and I don't have the bubbles.
No, but it's on the. But I'm talking about it. It's the Mac. It's the Apple. Excuse me. It's the Windows version that's the problem. Okay, so it's the Windows version that's the problem. But I use the Windows version here because I use a Windows machine to do the show with. The audio is going out using a Mac. Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Hey, once I wipe that other machine, it's going to be so fast you're going to want to do the show on the Mini.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm hoping that it will. I'm thinking of having it replace another older Mac that I have in the other room for the time being. But for me, I'm getting it because not because I want something that's faster or newer, but just as a backup. You know, and it could. I would not use it as the server for the programs because all I need is what I've got here. It would be overkill. I would rather have it on a machine where I really need it. But no, it's those things are great. But so everybody is trying to change the rules on me. Nicecast is trying to change the rules on me. Skype is trying to change the rules on me. And I say to both of them, a big fuck you. You know
the old saying, right? The only thing constant is change.
Yeah, and I hate that saying.
But it's true. It's the what I live by. It's IT to a T.
Yeah, yeah.
The only constant is change, and that's so you're always in flux.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? The Trump White House?
There we go. There we go.
Hey, you must be proud. You must be proud that that his administration is in violation. Forget about all the big stuff going on. He's monetizing the presidential seal.
He is, isn't he? Down at Mar-a-Lago.
He's putting it. He's ordered 1,200 or so, seals, and he's going to place them on the golf course. That is so.
I love it. Hey, one more Democrat is unemployed in the Trump White House today. His economic advisor.
Yeah, but
and the news. He fires he quits. The Democrat quits, and we may have peace with North Vietnam, but nobody's talking about that North Vietnam says, oh, now we're ready to give up our.
They're talking about, no, they aren't saying they're ready to give up on it. They said they're willing to
negotiate it.
To negotiate arms rollbacks or whatever. In which case, if I were Kim Jong-un, I would say fuck you from this standpoint. That how dare you tell me when you have nuclear weapons that I can't have them? To protect myself.
Yeah, well, the idea is that if they come to a peaceful agreement, that's much better.
No, but why should that peaceful agreement?
Another country with nuclear arms.
Oh, John Peroulis is trying to call us. Let me do this. Then, John, I need to add you to my contacts. Well, no, John, he's calling. What he's doing is he's calling. Everybody's seeing the work that I'm doing here. He's calling from another phone. From another number, I think, or something like that. No, John, can't do that. Okay.
Does a phone need to be added as a contact?
Well, no, he didn't add himself as a contact. So now I'm trying to call him, but add to contacts. Okay, send. Okay, then John will have to sign. I can't get this thing to to work. Okay, all right. Well, that's I tried. Huh? Well, I can't change it, so fuck it. You know, John, what you have to do, John, you're for some reason you're calling us on a line that isn't.
He can't hear you.
Yeah.
If he's calling you, he's got his thing off.
Yeah, add to group call. There we go. Now it says add to group call, and we'll call him and see if he's there, and then I will ream his ass out for not doing it the way he should do it. But now he's not answering.
No. Yeah, he's pissed over the Democrat losing his job.
Oh, there we go. Now he's calling. See, I added him to the group. So
Can you hear me?
Yeah, John. What are you using a different computer tonight?
No, you know what happens every time I log in. It says my account has been hacked, and I have to reset my password and get in. So I don't know why it's doing that.
Well, you have to every time you have to ask me to add you as a contact. Otherwise, I can't directly go to it. But I managed to do a workaround here. So now
okay. I guess I gotta go to my Skype command console here and turn the camera on.
Yeah. What I wonder is why they keep telling you your machine it's been hacked. They've done it. They said it again.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's probably the Russians.
No, there's probably something.
400-pound guy sitting on his bed in New Jersey.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, the camera's on.
There we go. There's John. Okay.
I got something for you guys.
Well, later on, when you get a chance, go up and say, go up to contacts and go add contact, and then ask me to accept you, and I can have this new thing taken care of. Okay.
Okay.
Or either that, or I sent you one saying, "Do you want to be added or whatever?" So anyway,
okay.
See, right. It's always fucking me over, and I keep looking for something other than Skype, that we could use. But everything is nothing is as easy to use as Skype.
That's true.
I don't know what the issue is. It's weird. I mean, I'm tech savvy. I run a live streaming business.
Yeah.
I'm on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
I study the tech. I got a degree in web development. This is nuts. Ever since Microsoft took over Skype, they fucked it up. It used to be an okay platform until their geeks got their hands in it.
I will disagree with you to a certain extent. The picture is much better than it ever was. I think everybody will agree.
Do you think that's because of the cameras?
No, I don't think it's because of the cameras, because some of these people are using the same cameras they were using 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's they have improved the transmission, but they unimproved the rest of it. You have less things you can tweak, less things you can do. And it would change the whole look of this show if I had to go to the new Skype.
Yeah. Speaking of tech, thought I would drop a plug for Apple this weekend. They're doing that $29 battery, correct?
Yeah, Marjorie did.
Yeah,
I got one for Faye.
It took forever to get the battery. They ordered it like maybe 3 weeks, and then they finally called me and said the battery's here, come on in. I dropped the phone off. Come back a couple of hours later to pick up the phone, and they said, yeah, we had a problem. The battery wasn't working and the phone didn't pass diagnostics.
Oh, God.
So they said,
here's no one.
Give you another phone. So they gave me a completely refurbished, like brand new phone.
That's
Same
fine.
model.
That's fine.
For $9.
You know what happened? My watch, the battery warped, and so the front of this separated from the rest of it. And so I took it in. And they said, "Oh, we have to put in a new battery." So they took my watch for a day. I came back the next day, had a new battery, and so it's like a brand new phone. I mean, So, but it's
can't argue with their support. They're a little more expensive with everything, but damn.
You get what you pay for.
Well, they probably realize what's that, John?
That's a Jackery backup battery. It has USB inputs. So I was live streaming the Block the Boat campaign 2 years ago, and on the docks at Seattle.
Yeah.
And I used this battery. It kept me going on my iPhone all day long. I was broadcasting for 8 straight hours just off of this thing. So these backup batteries are amazing.
But
break.
So what happened? So they just gave you a new phone or a refurb, which is better than getting a new phone because you know this one works.
Right. This is a 6. They wouldn't have a new one, but they just said
when I had a 6, I had a problem with it, and I took it back, and I had the insurance. And they gave me another 6, and it had a problem. They gave me another one, it had a problem. Then they sent me one, it was the wrong color. So they said, "Do you want a 6S?" I said, "Sure." and then they got it right. And then I get a new battery for the 6S, $29.
Yeah, $29. You can't beat it. I just bought a 7 from the internet. I'm going to get rid of this brick. That's the Galaxy S7 that I have that I use to play Wheel of Fortune on. That's the only thing I do with it because it's all I can do with it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sell that, and I just bought a 7, so I'll have two iPhones again.
Yeah, I have.
This is a 5S. It works fine. I've had it for a couple of years. I bought it new from Verizon, part of their deal.
Well, this is
no problem.
I found that it got slow with the 5s. I had to upgrade. It was just too slow.
You know, I was worried. I was worried when I got the 7S that it would be too large, to fit in my pocket and so on. And there were a couple of pockets in old pants and stuff where it doesn't fit right, where they were meant to have. Like I have a coat, an old ski, a real winter jacket that has a place where you can put your phone, but it won't fit because it wasn't. It was made to fit the older iPhones. But I like this size. This is.
The Plus, that's my
Plus,
6. That's what.
Yeah,
the Plus.
It's a 7. This is a 7S Plus, I think. Yeah.
Oh, really?
6S? No.
Hey,
6S
hey.
Plus.
So you guys, I got another tech question for you. I don't know if you can see this.
Well,
I got this nice AKG mic.
Yeah.
But I've only got it hooked up with an XLR cable, so I don't know how to get it into my computer. Is there an adapter or something?
Behringer sells one for $29, and it's got the right plugs. It's red. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have a Behringer adapter, but it's an older one. For putting.
Well, what you have is what's called an XLR.
Yeah.
And well, of course, I use two XLRs here.
You need a mixer,
huh?
You got to have a mixer.
But I have a mixer for that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What are you plugging your XLR into?
Well, I use it for my broadcast stuff. I use it for,
Do you plug it into a mixer or
Well, I could plug. This needs power. So it needs phantom power. So I could plug it into one of my cameras that will give it phantom power, or a mixer. I got a Shure mixer. That can power.
That's what you use, and I'm looking at my thing.
You're looking at your thing.
You're looking at your thing.
There's a USB that plugs into the USB thing, and then there's some other things that plugs into your out. What I forgot the name.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Alex Bennett's garage, where we're discussing electronics tonight.
Your aux out. AUX input.
Let's not get too complicated. Most people out there are not keeping up with this. And
if it wasn't for Rob, I would have been able to hook mine up. If I wasn't for Rob, I wouldn't have been able to hook mine up.
Figure out where my camera with XLRs on it is. It usually was right there. Did somebody come in and steal it? No.
Of course.
Of course. Not the cleaning woman. This one doesn't steal. Let's see here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where the hell did that go? That's weird. That's strange. Huh. Yeah, now it's going to drive me nuts all night. Where the hell is my... other camera. Oh well, I'll find it. It's
which camera is that?
It's a flash card camera. It has it's a regular camera.
Oh, I figured I could use my Zoom.
That's right.
Put the XLR right there.
Yeah.
And then there's a USB connection right here.
You can put in.
And then I could probably go from there into the computer. This is a great tool, by the way, folks. It's a Zoom Wave MP3 recorder. Those are microphones on the top. It's a great thing for recording pro sound.
And the Zoom over there.
I have no idea where it is.
Yeah, H6 Zoom. I love that thing.
Yeah, I love this thing too. Yeah. I've shot video on my LX10, which doesn't have any audio inputs, and recorded the audio with this Zoom, and was able to sync it up pretty good. Perfectly. And the audio and the video are just fantastic. But, then I can use a range of microphones. I could use my Windsocks and my Sennheiser mics and all that, Yeah,
I think he's still looking for his camera.
I can't find it.
Hey, you guys both have the same pajamas on. The kind of W.C. Fields checkerboard pattern thing.
Yeah, well, look at Phil. It's the same thing. We're all dressed alike. No, but
this is the Gabnet uniform.
What the hell happened?
Well, I got. Oh, what's this? Black pants. Show your pants. Let's show our mics. Show our pants.
Yeah. Do you wear your pants low?
No. I've been arrested by you once before, so I don't want to happen again.
Yeah, I got a feeling that it was a different boat.
Yeah, right.
Greenpeacers took over a Chevron boat and then put a banner off the side. And so they went up on a little inflatable, and then they climbed up the side of a Chevron tanker or something like that. And dropped down the Greenpeace banner, and then we got to arrest them.
Oh, those tankers dock right in Richmond. There's a dock where they unload their oil. So that must have been where it was. I was actually at the refinery on the other side. That's where I was, in the mud fields.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went into their pump houses with big chains and locks, and we shut off the pumps so they couldn't pump their effluent. So I think since then they have double lined their ponds for their orthochemical division. So I don't know. The world's going to hell anyway. I don't know if any of this matters. It's sorry to be a little
most of
cynical.
anybody see me walking around here. I cannot figure out what happened to my my camera. That bothers me.
Well, the world will be a better place tomorrow
it was
because
here
I
a
won't
couple
be
of
here.
weeks ago. What? What?
Where are you going? Are you going to the hospital?
Club. It's my competition, and I can submit the last three things I just did.
So, when are you sending me the Mini Mac?
Next, I had planned on going down to Monterey and seeing my friend and pulling some stuff off of it and then having him wipe it. And that may not happen tomorrow. So I'll figure out how to do it and just call up Apple and make sure they wipe it right for you.
Just leave the porn on there.
There's no porn on there. I tell you, I have a Drobo.
Oh, well, then forget it. I don't want it.
Yeah, the only thing that's on there are the programs and a couple of JPEGs that are on the screen. But other than that, I don't put anything on the drive.
So why do you need to wipe it?
Well, it's got banking stuff and so if you go into the what is it? Not the operating system, but the Safari, and you click on my bank, it all comes up automatically. See how little I have.
Just make sure you spell Monterey right, Phil.
Oh, well, if you leave that there, you'll make it easy for Alex to transfer the money.
Yeah. Yeah, from his account, my account to his. Yeah, I could never. Spelling has not been one of my.
I saw that beautiful picture.
I like neatened up everything in these rooms here, and look what happened. It was in the other room. There it is. That's it.
Oh, is that a Canon?
Yeah, it's Canon, but you may notice it has, see on the side here?
Yeah, right.
It has the XLRs. Yeah.
I have a Sony version of that.
Yeah. This one I really like. It's a really good camera, but I'll tell you what I love most of all. I'll tell you, there are two I've got more video cameras for more years than anybody you can name. I mean, I've got, some old ones that, don't do wide and whatever. But anyway, the best one, two best cameras I've ever owned are the GoPro.
Yeah, GoPros are fantastic.
And the iPhone.
Yeah.
You know what? I shot a whole video in 4K on the iPhone, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. When I was in Greenpeace, we shot everything on 16 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And this iPhone 5S can shoot better, clearer video than any of the 16 millimeter we shot.
And the one that I have here shoots 4K.
In 4K.
Then we went on a trip, and I decided to shoot the whole trip, not to take that camera, not to take the GoPro, but just armed with this, and shoot the whole weekend. Yeah. And it was gorgeous, just gorgeous. Yeah. There's only one problem with these folks, and the problem with the GoPro. If you're a professional, you can't zoom. You can, but it's awkward.
Well, you
got to flip the.
You can do better composition, say with a camera like the one I just showed you, where I've got a zoom lens on it and all of that, and I've got all kinds of bells and whistles and so on. But if you want to just shoot your vacation, but make sure you take something where you can offload your video onto like a stick or something like that, because you can fill this up pretty fast, especially at 4K.
This one, it's got a dual camera. Now, I've never taken any video with it, but it has. You can shoot in RAW, which means that you'll be able to increase the dynamic range or decrease it depending on what you need to do when you're editing.
I tried to remember, though. I was talking to Marjorie the other day about it. There was some system they came out with that you could buy, where it was a camera where you just shoot anything you fucking want to shoot. Forget about it.
Oh, the Litro.
Yeah, you could go back afterwards and refocus it and change the aperture and all of that after you shot the film.
That was the Litro, but there's a new one out. It's about $2,000. It's the size of your iPhone, and it's got 19 cameras in it, and it's got 19 lenses. And it's $2,000. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but
hey, Phil, if you do remember the name, post it on Alex's YouTube page.
I'm not good at posting anything, but let me.
You send me enough shit,
Yeah, I know how to use that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Ray Renati. How are you?
Ray.
It's been an exciting show so far. I've been looking for my camera. and
we're showing our pants.
And Phil was saying he can't be here tomorrow night. So, it's pretty good. So anyway, Phil, get me that mini Mac before you go into the hospital, because in case you die, I still want to be able to get it. Okay.
Is that tomorrow? Big surgery?
No, his surgery is what? When is it?
The 19th.
The 19th. Let me see.
I have Camera Club tomorrow.
Let me put that down on my
Camera Club.
I should put that down on my calendar. What should I put it down as? Ass ringing?
The memorial.
Huh?
How long is the prostate memorial?
Yeah, the prostate memorial.
And the mirror.
I love my ex-wife Ronnie tonight when I said, when I get together with other old people, when I get together with other old people, all we seem to talk about is health stuff.
Medicare.
She says, I call it an organ recital. Oh boy. So anyway, let's talk about some stuff here. Okay. Okay, and we don't, the gun thing. keep it in mind. Think about it all the time, but we don't have to talk about it. Okay.
Please, no.
Well,
hey,
because
Jeff Sessions sued California today.
Yeah, he sued California today. I was going
yeah.
to bring that up. He sued California today because they're saying they're a sanctuary state, and they're suing them against giving sanctuary. And it's going to be interesting to see how this works out because, you know, Republicans have always been states' rights advocates, except when it comes to something they want. Like they're not states' rights advocates where marijuana is concerned or where this thing is concerned, being a sanctuary state. And the fact is that if you believe in states' rights, you believe in it implicitly, and they apparently don't believe in it implicitly, you know? So.
Hey, it's called the Lights Pocket Size L16.
We're on to another topic altogether.
Looking for this thing.
What? Out of a clear blue sky.
It's the Lights, Light.
Great. Okay, good. Send me the information on it. It's $2,000 I can't afford. Okay.
Hey Tony, does your mom have to take a leak?
No, actually, she just asked me that I put the alarm on. I locked every door in the house and the windows. No one's coming in.
Okay. Just want to check.
Yeah, but is she going to have to go to the bathroom at some point during this show?
I'm actually upstairs because I'm sleeping up here tonight.
Now your father still lives with you, right?
Yeah.
Why can't he take her to the fucking bathroom?
Exactly, because you know what? He's fed up with it. He says, I had her all day. I can't take her anymore. He's watching all movies.
That's what it comes to. I get sometimes to think that Marjorie feels that way about me. You know, like, you take care of him. I've had to deal with him all these weeks. So.
This is what I love about this show. You can't get this shit anywhere else. I mean, this is totally normal stuff. This is what America runs on. It is exciting, man. We're sick. We're mentally sick.
I shouldn't have guns.
Anyway, so it looks like, you know, here's the thing. Phil, you know, I know you try to defend Trump because that's your job on the show. But for a moment,
today I'm a snowflake. I'm sorry. Trump, he fired the poor Jewish man, and
listen, he fired the only guy that the business community had confidence in.
And you know,
wait a minute, hold on a second. What, Rob?
I don't believe he fired him. I think
he quit.
I mean, he didn't fire him; he quit.
Yeah.
You don't think he quit,
over the tariffs, over the steel tariffs?
No, he quit, but it's because Trump wouldn't do what he wanted him to do, and you know, the guy believed.
No, Trump wouldn't take his advice.
Right. Well, the guy believed what he believed, and he stood up for his position. And you know, for as much as people,
he almost quit over. He almost quit over Charlottesville.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You know,
this is the economic advisor you're talking about?
Cohen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
One of the few moderates left.
Another unemployed Jew. To getting rid of all the Jews in the White House. First Jared, then it's Ivanka. Now it's Cohen.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Today I think he put out a what do you call it? A television ad for new employees at the White House that they're hiring again, because at the press conference he had, I think he brought that up. That you know, when people leave, there's a job for somebody else. It was like he was advertising for new recruits to work for him. But let me say this to you, a couple of things. Number one, would you have wanted to work for Donald Trump when he was in business?
No.
Good question.
I mean, this is apparently the way he ran his businesses, and this is the reason they were going bankrupt all the time. You know, he didn't know how to be management. He didn't know how to run a company.
You run a company by having others do things.
Yeah.
If he trusted you, you were like gold.
Oh well, until he got a burr up his ass, and then you were out the door. That's how he's running the White House.
He lost his trust.
Well,
you know, and
you know how you lose his trust?
You don't do what he wants you to do. You don't agree with him.
I mean, you know, if you're a good boss and you're good management, and you've got somebody who says, "Hey, Alex, you know, I know you want to do it this way, but I think you should be doing it this way, because if you do it that way, it's going to be more of a problem.
That's what Cohen said.
Wait a minute, and I will listen to you, and I will take your advice, because that's one of the reasons I hired you. I will take your advice if I consider it valid. But I'm sure I'm not going to get snotty about it and go, hey, how dare you tell me how to run my company?
I don't think anybody said, how dare you? Cohen said, I don't agree with you. And because of that, I'm out of here. I don't, he has not fired a lot of people. He wasn't happy with who's his attorney general.
Yeah, but they quit because they can't take it any longer.
Well, the attorney general's still there.
You can't fire him.
Why can't he fire him?
If he goes and fires him, it'll look like obstruction.
No, because
yes, it will. He recused himself. So the next guy he brings in that he handpicks, right? It could be determined that he's not. Well, obviously he wouldn't recuse himself.
You can't hamstring the White House by saying now you're stuck with this attorney general because he took his stuff away from Russia.
You're stuck with the attorney general when they're investigating your White House.
Well, yeah, but
when they're
can't stand up for him.
When they're investigating your White House, you really can't get rid of the attorney general.
The general is supposed to stand up for the Constitution, and as much as I don't like Jeff Sessions, at least he's doing that.
He does, yes.
And he didn't get fired. Trump says
he can't fire him.
Well, it doesn't matter. He could fire him if he wanted to.
But I mean, all these people quitting should indicate to
on him.
It might blow up on him, but those things don't seem to bother him.
All these people quitting should be assigned to people like you, Phil. That this is a purely dysfunctional White House.
Aren't you? I don't know. He's up against a lot of opposition.
Well, Phil.
The people that he hired.
He's been talking about draining the swamp. It's his own fucking swamp he's draining.
Well,
the White House, listen, let me just say this. The White House is hopeless. I mean, literally hopeless. She left last week.
Oh, yeah, hope.
Did you hear the joke?
Boo, yeah. What?
Rob, say it again. I couldn't hear you.
Did you hear the joke he made about Melania?
No.
He made a joke in public about everybody leaving the White House, and he said that there was something about, maybe Melania will be next.
Oh,
jeez.
And then he's like, you love me, right? You love me. She told me behave.
She's never there anyway.
No, they don't travel together. They don't do anything together anymore.
And wouldn't you be that way if you were married to that fat pig? Do you know, there's a great new show that they ran the pilot of Sunday after the Oscars. Sundays with Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
And I didn't know if he was going to be any good. This guy was one of the best interviewers I've heard so far. I mean, he's really good. And he had Jerry Seinfeld on, and he kept referring to Trump as that derma.
Yeah.
Good word.
He looks nothing. He looks like a stuffed derma. What were you going to say, Ray?
A few years ago, Alec Baldwin had an interview show on NPR. I don't think many people even knew about it, but it was really good. And I used to listen to it every Sunday.
Yeah.
He does the TCM with Robert Osborne.
Yeah, but that's not an interview show. That's just discussing movies.
No, he used to do an NPR interview show that was excellent. And it went on for about 6 months, I think.
I like your speech in Glengarry Glen Ross. Put the coffee down.
Well, they talked about that on the show because Jerry Seinfeld was saying, how does it feel to know that you did something in a film which is going to be quoted for the next 100 years?
That is
now I've never seen Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh, I've seen it 7, 8. I've seen it more times than Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and I plan to eventually before I die.
Hey, my wife and I still live Young Frankenstein and Monty Python. I mean, those jokes are like they're 40 years old, and we still laugh at them.
So are most Greenpeacers.
Well, I go back and watch comedies from the 40s that are still funny to this day. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that we've got a very dysfunctional White House right now, and why I'm afraid for the country is there's nothing. There's no glue there. You know.
Right.
It's like,
well, it's a bad sitcom. The White House is a bad sitcom.
Yeah. If you wrote this as a sitcom,
he might have brought peace with North Korea that no one else has been able to.
Oh
do.
yeah, he's responsible for peace with North Korea. When nobody would, wait a minute, when Pence wouldn't even talk to them, and it took the South Koreans. It took the South Koreans going to North Korea to start making this deal happen. So don't say that he made a deal.
This deal would never have happened if it wasn't for the pressure that Trump put on China.
Not at all. Not at all.
Do you give Trump the credit for McDonald's using fresh meat in their quarter pounders?
Yeah.
I didn't know they used fresh meat.
I didn't know they used frozen meat.
You're calling pink slime meat?
No, wait a minute. They have announced that they are doing away with the pre-frozen patties that they would throw on the grill and defrost right there in front of you for your edification.
But that's what makes the taste.
No. Taste? That's what robs every inch of the taste out of it.
No. In England, McDonald's has had to use fresh meat because of the mad cow disease.
Oh.
And when I was there, the McDonald's was actually really good, although it cost twice as much as here.
That's because you went to a Wimpy's the morning before. Yeah, ever have a Wimpy burger in England?
Yeah.
No.
It's the real American hamburger?
No.
It's just a bunch of gristle on a bun.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's great.
There's nothing worse. I was out of money in 1972. I went to England, London, and I ran out of money, and I needed my mother to send some more money. So I went to the Wimpy, and I got the real American hamburger. Well, that was awful. And then at the hotel, they had cheese and chutney sandwiches. Those were the cheapest thing on the menu. They were great. But
changed since 1972.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, to me, the worst place,
driving on the wrong
the
side
worst
of the
country
road.
I've ever eaten in. The worst country I've ever eaten in is England.
Okay. Yeah.
England, they just don't know how to cook food.
Spain, some parts of Spain.
Spain, the food is incredible everywhere.
Incredible.
And in Italy, it's incredible everywhere.
France is the best.
I'd say I disagree with you. I think Italy's got them beaten because Italy, you can eat at a gas station and the food is great.
That's because you're a pasta guy. You know, Italy has a lot of pasta. Whereas in France, they prepare these meals that are just unbelievable. Whether it's mussels or
there's more diversity.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we just lost. He died a couple of weeks ago. Paul Bocuse, who in Lyon invented Nouvelle Cuisine, which was this French cuisine where everything was really tiny.
Yeah. You know? And it's not only that they have tiny because they have a lot of different tastes, but a lot of them use the fresh foods from whatever region they're in and then cook them in the classic French style. I went to a restaurant, Alain Ducassis. He's got restaurants all over the world, but I happened to have gone into his one in Monaco. And when the bill came, I looked at them and I said, I turned white and I said, I hope the tip's included. Because it was, this is in 2002, and the bill for 4 people for dinner was €1,000.
That would make me choke. You know, here's how I feel about spending that much money for dinner. And I know the girlfriend would probably disagree with me, although I think you can get a lot of inexpensive, really fine, decent meals around. But if I spend $1,000 for dinner, okay, I'm not going to take a shit for a week because I don't want to waste it. You know, because yes, it may taste good at the moment, but eventually it's just going to be a big turd in the toilet bowl. So why pay $1,000 for that?
Some of it was the service. There was 25 tables and maybe 60, 65 waiters. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she dropped her napkin. Before it hit the floor, this guy had the napkin and another one on her lap. It was service like I had never had before.
Well, yeah, but fuck the service. I want how good's the food? You know,
the food was good because Ducassis, his whole thing is to take the food from Provence and or whatever area is in this case it was Provence, and cook it in the classic style. And he even served things up differently. He came out with these endives in a shot glass, and it was delicious. You know, everything there was delicious.
But how much was it again?
In 2002, it was 1,000 euros. Now,
which would have been something like about $1,300 at that point.
Right.
Yeah,
I think so. And you know, my kids hardly ate anything. Only 2 people had an appetizer. There was 4 adults.
Yeah.
I was the only one that drank, and not everybody had dessert, and only 2 of us had an appetizer.
Did he charge you for the water?
Bill coming. What? No, I had some sort of gin drink.
Let me ask you this on a qualitative point here. You spent $1,300 for the dinner, right?
Right.
There were 4 of you, right?
4 and 2 kids.
4 and 2 kids.
Who barely ate anything.
Barely ate anything. Was it worth that? Was it that good that it was worth that much money?
I'm still talking about it.
Well, no, you're talking about it because you spent that much money.
It was one of the best meals I've had. I've had better.
Better than the steak?
Well, yeah, better than the steak. And, you know, I've had better, but it's certainly memorable.
See, now for me,
well, it'd be memorable if I got that kind of a bill at the end of the dinner too. What?
I would rather spend $1,000 on a World Series game than on food. You know,
yeah,
I've got different priorities.
You know, it was in the Hotel du Paris in Monaco, and it was called the Louis XIV restaurant, I think, and the chef is Alain Ducassis. But that hotel is magnificent. It's right next to the casino. And it's just a magnificent place. If I could afford, if I was smart and I would have saved my money and invested a lot, money earlier, I would love to live in Monaco. I felt so safe there because they have cameras everywhere. Now you might say that's Big Brother, but there's no crime. There is no crime.
I wouldn't want to live in Monaco. I wouldn't mind living on the Riviera around in there, but I don't think I'd want to live in Monaco. Because that's just like one building on top of another building on top of another.
So crowded. In the summer, you can't even get your. It takes hours to go a few miles.
Well, you know, you take the train, and it was really convenient. But
well, I'm sorry, I drive through Europe.
Yeah, New York is just as crowded as this, and this is clean.
No. Because
there's a million things to do.
I've been there. Gee, I've been maybe 4 or 5 times, something like that. And it's nice to go for the day to go in there, but you don't want to spend more than the day there, you know, because it's too crowded. You know, you stay in towns around it, you know, nice
eats and there's all around it. It is magnificent.
I had this one hotel that I stayed at called Capistel. It's still there. And I found it one night because we were driving looking for a place to rest our weary head. And there was a sign that said Capistel with an arrow. And so I went down this road and I wind up at this villa. And at that time, it was quite inexpensive, oddly enough. A few years back, I went back a few years later. It was like $300 a night. But it was even cheaper when we stayed there. And what it was an old Russian villa that had been turned into a hotel on a cape. Overlooking the French Riviera. And I went back there a second time a few years later because it was just so wonderful. In fact, we went there to spend the night. We spent 2 or 3 days because the hotel was so fucking nice.
You know, you asked me about the meal. It comes to mind now. It was also in France, in Alsace-Lorraine. I was driving, and I was near Strasbourg, and I pulled over in this town that had a post office, a cow, and an auberge. And I had lunch there. The family comes out and they serve the lunch. This was so unbelievable.
I think Phil's trying to impress us here.
Well, just because I can pronounce the French word.
It's auberge, not auberge.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even pronounce it.
Auberge?
Yeah.
So the AU
Jeff,
is
you've been to Europe,
my
right?
wife is French. I've been to France like 25 times.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so
I
just, shut up, Phil.
I love that area. I love that area. I love the food.
Jeff just wait a minute. Jeff just okay. Thank you. Jeff just nodded his head. What are you nodding about?
Well, two things. One, I think about France.
Yeah.
I study different languages, and I'm terrible at all of them.
Yeah.
But I always say that when I was in high school, I took French, and I actually had to take a state of New York test.
The regions.
The regions. You guys remember?
Hell yeah.
So I took my regions for France during the winter, around January, and it snowed, and the snow was so bad that they closed the test. It was thrown out. Nobody took it. Well, if it wasn't for that snow, I'd still be in French class today.
I've had that happen with me with Regents exams. My 11th grade year, when I had like 3 of them to take, it seemed that year somebody compromised the tests. And so they kept canceling them, and you'd look at the paper and see, the newspaper would say, they canceled the science one, they canceled the math. I wound up taking no Regents and got a Regents diploma because they had to give it to us.
The French, they are a funny race. They eat with their hands and fuck with their face. I think that's the old saying. And the only thing that I can sincerely say about I'm not fond of the French, although I'm sure Ray is. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone back 25 times. But I have to say something. Some of them smell terrible.
Really?
That's changed in recent years.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. The first time I went there and I went on the metro, it was the most disgusting smell I've ever. I felt like I was in a dump in Mexico or something.
Yeah.
So,
but that doesn't happen anymore. People actually use deodorant now.
Tell me when that changed, because it was circa 2000. I've told this story. Circa 2005, I'm working in New York City, and the parent company is Thomson Electronics, and the sub company was Technicolor.
Mm-hmm.
And the board of directors used to show up on our offices on Broadway twice a year for their board meetings because it was convenient for everybody to fly in. And all these French people came in, and man, oh man, I had to help them get set up, get their Wi-Fi set up in the room. Mm-hmm. Stand next to these people, you want to die.
Yeah, we were in Geneva. No, excuse me, we were in the Olympics in Albertville, and. Was it in Albertville? Yeah, we were in Geneva, and we had to get a car to go to Albertville, and we had this French woman who we rented the car from. She was, the person at the desk, and then she takes us out to the car, and she's standing between two of us, and all of a sudden this odor is wafting, and we both are looking past her to each other, going, "Is that how bad? Does she smell like that?" I mean, it's like the woman hadn't taken a bath in maybe the last 30 years of her life.
Oh, yeah. They're dressed to the nines, these people.
And she was dressed very nicely.
Yeah.
What?
What year was this?
Oh,
Alex?
this was God, that was the Albertville Olympics. That had to be in 80-something. 80.
Well, yeah, that's what. Yeah, it was bad. I'd say over the last 10 years, it's changed dramatically. I don't ever have that anymore. I don't ever smell that anymore.
Yeah,
but I know the smell you're talking about.
Yeah. We almost started gagging. But
gag a maggot.
But we figured it would make a great story when she finally went away. So it was. So anyway,
two.
I had a couple stories here. Hold on a second.
Let me games. Winter Olympics.
You don't have to look it up. But it was the Albertville Olympics. 92.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Guess who's going to run probably against Mario Cuomo for governor of the state of New York? I mean, in the primaries.
I don't know.
Well, apparently, that's stupid of me to say guess, because you're never going to guess. Okay.
Is it the previous mayor?
Do you know Cynthia Nixon is?
No.
Yeah. She's the one from that TV show in the New York, the single girls. What the heck?
We got
Sex
Sarah
in the
Jessica
City.
Parker, ain't he?
Yeah.
Sex in the City.
Sex in the City.
She's been openly. She's a Democrat. She's been openly critical of Cuomo for many months as she mulled her campaign.
Oh my God.
So Cynthia Nixon may be running for governor of New York, but I don't think she's going to beat Cuomo out for the nomination because that's all politics. It's all
name
recognition.
recognition.
She does have name recognition.
And who in New York is going to vote for Nixon again?
Yeah, that's what they said. Somebody said in the article. It actually says Cynthia Nixon, no relation to Richard Nixon.
Hey, Nixon makes great watches.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Nixon watches. Really.
Yeah,
good.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
So, did you see that camera? Did you look it up?
No.
No. Someone, one of the commentators identified it as a light L16 camera.
That's what I said.
Okay, anyway, forget about that.
$2,000.
Forget about that.
Oh, but I can't.
Well, we don't care.
It would hurt my feelings. My feelings.
Are you ready for this? This is a good one. Something you can finally like about Fox.
They're going off the air?
No. Ready for this? Hold on to your seats. Fox Network Group ad sales chief Joe Marchese announced that Fox is targeting cutting ad time way down
minutes
to 2 minutes. Can I tell the story, please?
Yeah.
Well read. To 2 minutes an hour.
Hey, that's cool. How'd you pop that up, man? What did you do?
What?
I just took it off the internet and put it on there. That's Cynthia Nixon and her girlfriend. Anyway.
But you have a picture of her or something?
Yeah, it's on the side on the Skype.
What are you using? Video Mixer, or vMix, or vMix, or something? How did you?
No, I
do
just
that?
downloaded it.
Why don't we do another show like after this show off the air where we can discuss all the technical things and cameras? Okay.
Which one's Cynthia Nixon?
The bald one.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
She's a lesbian.
Yeah.
They both are.
What? Who both are?
He posted a picture of Cynthia Nixon and her girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you miss that? That's what we've been talking about.
Oh, I see. Well, it came up here, but I didn't open it up.
We're still talking about.
Oh, wait a minute.
Fox.
Here, I can open it up and people can see what you're talking about. Hold on a second. Let me see.
Fox used to pick him up in a limo. Now
there we go. See,
Fox.
ladies and gentlemen, that's what they're talking about. That picture there of Cynthia Nixon, right there.
I don't see anything.
You gotta click on the Skype stuff.
Anyway.
There's a thing on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah. Little
bubble.
Yeah. Now I got to undo that bubble. How do I get rid of it?
You type
oh,
it
there
again.
we go. There we just do that again. Okay. So everybody saw that picture. See, I could show that on the air. Anyway.
I'm afraid to do that. If I click on something, I'll probably be hacked again, and I'll.
Can I get back to this thing about Fox saying they're going to cut 2 minutes an hour?
What?
Yeah. They say that they announced a target at a private industry event it hosted last week in Los Angeles where advertisers, buyers, and executives from rival media companies discussed TV's advertising woes. Bringing commercial time down to only 2 minutes would be a major change. No shit. You know what it is now?
10 seconds.
You know what it is now?
It's probably 20 minutes.
No, it's 13 minutes. 13 minutes an hour in a network show.
Yeah, but if you bring it down to 2 minutes, how many commercials can you get at 10 seconds apiece?
Well, whatever you're getting, I think this is a great idea. If I were an advertiser, I'd be delighted with it. Sure. Number one, you're going to have to pay more for them because there's less real estate, so you're going to have to pay more for each spot. But you're not going to be in a cluster of people that you get buried in. Like, unless you are the first commercial after the break or the last commercial after the break, going back into the shows, you're probably not, your commercial isn't even going to be seen when people go zipping through the goddamn thing. So sell 2 minutes and make it 2 minutes that, that people aren't bothered by. Put it in the middle of the show or wherever. I mean, I don't know why they didn't say 4 minutes an hour, because if you just did 2 minutes at the bottom and 2 minutes at the top, nobody would complain. There's just
more
I
leg and less
noticed
John
they were
Devane.
experiment.
What?
More leg and less
What
John
were you saying,
Devane.
Ray?
They were experimenting with that in the Olympics quite a bit. I noticed, and they would go right into like a 10-second commercial, and you wouldn't even realize you just watched the commercial until it was over, and then they go right back into the sport. They did it a number of times.
Did they do that on the network?
That is real
did they do
psyops, man.
Did they do
I know, but I liked it. I liked it better than. I mean, I got the message. Then I didn't feel like there was any time.
Did they do that
wasted,
on the
and-
network, or do they do that on some of their ancillary properties?
No, they did it on the network.
Oh, really? I
Quite
didn't
a bit.
see it that way. I thought I saw way too many commercials.
Well, they were doing both. They were doing the longer ones and the shorter ones. They were doing both types.
Yeah. But anyway, here, I think this idea is a great idea. I mean, I often said to radio stations where I work, when I suddenly realized that we were up to, I think, 23 minutes an hour of commercials. And now in some stations, like when I was working at WOR, for which I still haven't seen a check, I got a
it's in the mail.
Yeah. We went into a break, and I said to Albert, who was my producer over at WOR, well, how long is this break? And he said 7 minutes. I said, 7 minutes? And there were like 4 of these breaks an hour. And I'm going, why don't, I could probably like go home, have a soda, get back in the car, come back down, and we'd be through the commercial break. I mean, this was ridiculous, just ridiculous. And I often said to some of my bosses when these number of ads were increasing, why don't we play less commercials and charge more for them? And they couldn't get with that concept.
It doesn't work, unfortunately.
Well,
Clear Channel, when I was with Clear Channel, they tried that.
Oh, really?
It was 6 minutes an hour. I think we were at we did 3 breaks an hour, and they were 6 minutes or 7 minutes each.
It's still too
crazy.
Yeah.
And a music station, no less.
Yeah.
And they had this whole big thing, and they were going to cut back to 6 minutes an hour, and they were going to hold to this, and it lasted, I think, 6 months, and goodbye.
Well, the problem is that if everybody in the business went to that kind of method, it would work, because then you could charge more for the spots. But when you're charging more for the spots and everybody else is charging $1, selling them for a dime, to be competitive, you've got to have that many commercials.
Yeah, but I think the other problem is just how do you tell customers? How do you tell clients? No, we don't have any real estate for you.
Yeah, wouldn't they sell out?
Yeah, you get a big deal from some national account or something. Now you're saying, well, we've got a full roster.
But with Fox, I mean, they can say, hey, we only have 2 minutes, and this is how much it's going to cost you because you have kind of an exclusivity here.
Yeah, that's wonderful and nice.
And I think that would work in television, but I don't think it would work in radio.
You're never going to get anybody to say, no, we won't take your money because we're full. Only running a small
all they
amount
have to sell is time.
Huh?
All they have to sell is time.
Yes, but I think it's slightly different in television if you're a network.
I don't think content matters to these guys or anyone else.
No, it is. I don't think it's a matter. I don't think content matters either, but I do think exclusivity could matter. In other words,
I think content is just there to wrap around commercials.
Rob?
You're right. Exclusivity will matter. I think the problem comes in when they start looking at what they're turning away for this exclusivity, right? You get this thing and you go, look at this waiting list. These people would advertise now if we had the time, if we had the inventory to give them. Let's add another minute. Let's add another minute. And within a year's time, they've forgotten all about it. Because
years ago, I met this guy who painted the eyes. What was his name?
The crazy eye. That his wife did it too.
With the eyes.
Wait a minute, she did all the artwork.
Well, no, she didn't. She didn't do all the artwork. I saw what they did. She did half the paintings, and he did the other half. Really, I was there. I watched them work. Okay. What were they called? What was it? What was their name? I didn't know their name as well as I know my own. But anyway, I said to him, I was at his house, and they lived in the marina, and they in their apartment. They, one night he would do one painting, and the next night she'd do her painting. And they had a slightly different style,
Walter Keane.
Walter Keane. They both did kids. People all had the eyes. That was the similarity. But her style was more of a svelte kind of person. His were like Chinese kids, things like that. And he. And I said to him, I said, so how many do you do of these? And he says, well, we get about one a day out. They were like this fucking factory, right? And I said, and how much do you get for them? He said, oh, well, we get like 30,000 a picture or whatever. And I go, well, what if the demand goes up? He said, well, I used to be in real estate. When the demand goes up, you raise the prices. You don't change your output because that devalues your output. You just simply raise the prices. And that's exactly what I think a network probably is thinking of doing here, is that you have less real estate to sell, so therefore you raise the prices to make that real estate more worth it. I think
do that at the Olympics.
I think it's possible with television.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible with radio. Because radio has far too many competitors in a given market. You agree, Rob? And that they're all trying to knock their brains out.
But the other side of it is just American business, such that it doesn't think that way. They think very short term, the next quarter or the next stock payment that they have to make, dividend or whatever it is, and they're looking to eke out every last little nickel. And so while your idea would work in theory, I don't think they get there because they're not patient enough. If they see money coming in, they're not going to turn it away. Okay. And I also think you get to a point where, so let's just say you're running 2 minutes of, what was it? How many minutes an hour?
2 minutes an hour.
We all know, because I took advertising 101 when I was going for my broadcast degree. You get your best bang for your buck when you have repetition, right?
Yeah.
Only have a small number of spots that you're running on your station. Are you getting the repetition that you need?
Well, you're right. I mean, they'll probably be selling a lot of 15-second commercials. Although there are a lot of 15-second commercials now, and it's amazing what they do with the economy. By the way, yes, Ray.
Tell me what you think about this. In France, bringing up France again, on TV, say you have an hour crime drama.
Yeah.
The show will go on for like 47 minutes, and then they put on all the commercials up until the next hour.
That was the European style. They did that in France. They did that in England. It was like on the half hours. They would do like 5 minutes of commercials. And then,
okay. Well, France does it now. They do it right at the end of the hour. If it's an hour long,
you know what they did in Germany? You know what they did in Germany?
What's that?
They had an hour of commercials at the beginning of the night. At the beginning of the night, and then there were no commercials in the shows.
Yeah, but who would pay for that?
Well, to begin with, do you know what one of the most popular shows was that they had in Germany? The hour of commercials.
I'll tell you, the commercials in France, production values are really high, and I actually enjoy watching them. They're very artistic.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll sit there and watch them, even though the show's over.
Well, we do some good commercials here too, but not all of them are.
Right. Pretty much in France, they all are. Like for that whole 10 to 15 minutes, they're all really good.
They're fighting for eyeballs with quality. Yes, Jeff.
I always remember Barry Gray's show.
Yeah.
Which would be at 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, 11 o'clock.
It was 10 o'clock, and then it moved to 11.
Yeah. So I always remember the 11 one. And he would introduce himself, but then he would go right to advertisements. And he would knock out a whole bunch of advertisements.
Yes, he did. You're right.
I don't know, what was it, like 15 minutes?
I don't know how long the commercial breaks were, but he would do, I remember he would do long commercial breaks because he was doing a talk show. And he had a whole bunch of people who wanted to talk. And he didn't want to interrupt the flow of the talk. I know I did his show on Saturday nights. I was his replacement on Saturday nights, used his studio, and basically used his format. And I think we took maybe 2 breaks an hour or something, because then it wasn't going to ruin the flow of discussion. Okay?
And he always had a great show.
My friend Barry was his doorman at the station, so they had to have a doorman to let people in.
So was a guy by the name of Maurice Tunick, who I know even better.
Well, did you know Barry? Barry Martin?
No.
All right. So he used to let the guys in. I guess the building was locked, and for him to get his guests in.
Yeah, I remember the key was on the bottom of the door. You had to lean down to open up the door. I remember that. I remember it because the guy would come, Maurice in my case, and he would because I went on after Barry, and they would turn the thing, and then they would let people in. Of course, he was letting in some very famous people, so it was
right. Yeah.
But now I forgot what I was going to say.
You were talking about the commercials on.
So I do remember that we did long commercial breaks about twice during the hour, and that was because of the nature of the show. People have said to me, "Well, why don't you try the citizen panel format on broadcast radio?" And I've thought of talking to people about doing it. But I could never fix. But no, I'm not worried about that. I think you would all keep it clean if I asked you to keep it clean. Okay, that I'm not worried about. Plus, there are 7-second delays and things like digital delays. But the question I had with myself was, what happens when we go to a 7-minute commercial break? And do I have to then say to the stations, if you want to try this format, you got to go for a smaller break, or we have to do 2 really huge breaks during the hour? Or do I just let you guys keep talking and we all keep talking and they simply go away and listen to the commercials and come back and catch up with us?
Change the subject every 15 minutes. And
no, I don't want to do that. That's not the nature of what we do with this.
But if you were on broadcast, if you change the subject every 15 minutes and you put your breaks in those.
No, my whole idea is that we simply go to a break and there's an announcement. We're going to take out time from their discussion. We'll get back to their discussion in a moment. And we just keep talking. And when they come back, they're just joining our conversation again. That's the only way I could see doing it. What?
You would do it by blocks, where you would choose a topic for a block and then discuss it?
because
this show radio is
this show doesn't work that way, and I've never worked that way. I've never gone in and there was a time where I went, today's topic is. And I just found that was wrong, because what it does, it locks the audience in having to talk about that topic. And you're also going to lose an amount of people. You're going to lose an amount of people who say, well, I'm not interested in that topic.
Hey, guys, my screen's acting a little weird. Are you experiencing that too?
No, not back now.
There he is.
Yeah.
No,
you're
froze on Skype.
No, on Skype, you look fine. For me.
No, you were.
Your voice was off.
My voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, your voice,
and also your picture froze.
Movement.
No. Yeah. It looks fine from here, and that's all that matters for the audience out there.
Phil, you're perpetually frozen, in my view.
I see it.
That's because I'm having my neck.
Now this is where going on broadcast radio would be a failure. Is when we start talking about, well, my camera isn't working, but yours is.
My prostate's not working.
As long as all of you are smooth, you look great. Even Tony, he hasn't said a word, but even Tony.
No, when Tony did speak, he was outrageous, man. That little 5 seconds of Tony went a long way.
About his mother?
Yeah.
Father, too. I never heard him talk about his father.
Well, he's running he's going to be running the Bates Motel any day now.
Taxidermist.
Who was the woman that hacked her mother to death? And
Lizzie Borden.
She was outside. Rita Moreno was on the Oscars.
Massachusetts.
Trump. Here's one for you. Trump and Kimmel are going at it over the Oscars.
Oh, did you see that?
Jimmy Kimmel and Donald Trump rekindled their war of words when Trump took to social media to rub in about the ratings for Sunday's Oscar ceremony, which was hosted by Kimmel. Trump sent out a tweet this morning and wrote, "Lowest rated Oscars in history. Problem is, we don't have stars anymore, except our president." Just kidding, of course. Kimmel returned fire later, tweeting, "Thanks, lowest rated president in history." And it's true.
Answer.
It's true. He is the lowest rated president after his first year of any president in history.
Now, some polls like Rasmussen and so forth are giving him at 48 and 50.
Yes, you cannot trust Rasmussen. Rasmussen is completely fixed.
Well, that's what they said during the election, and that was the only poll that told it that Trump was going to win.
Well, because it was favoring Trump.
So, and he won.
And if he didn't win, everybody would have forgotten that Rasmussen was wrong.
Well, yeah, but they
Rasmussen,
were right.
rather. Rasmussen, I
But
call
we're
it.
going to say that no matter what.
Rasputin.
That broken clock is twice a day.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So that's the.
Hey, we didn't even talk about the Oscars, man. It's like 8:55 California time here. We're going to go off, and we didn't even get to talk about the fantastic.
Well, I will say
Sam Rockwell or Frances McDormand lives in West Marin, not too far from here.
Yeah,
that's right. And Kobe Bryant won an Oscar.
Can I say this about Frances McDormand? Man, is she loony.
She's a whack.
She's a whack
from Mill
job.
Valley. What do you expect?
But here's the thing about the Oscars. Do you know what was wrong about the Oscars this year? Incredibly wrong.
That stupid crystal bullshit thing.
No. They always do the in memoriam, right?
Yeah.
They messed all kinds.
Do you see who they left out this year?
Yes.
A lot of people.
Adam West. John Mahoney, who was on Frasier. Glenn Campbell. Glenn Campbell.
Didn't he even actually
He was
win?
best known for music and TV work, but he was also in True Grit, right?
Yeah.
Left out Jay Thomas.
But Jay Thomas wasn't in movies, really.
I thought he died at 60.
He was in Mr. Holland's office.
Other ones they missed. Della Reese they missed.
Oh my God.
Partridge, David Cassidy.
David Cassidy.
Robert Guillaume. Frank Vincent from Goodfellas and The Sopranos. Animal House actor Stephen Furst. And a regular on the Dick Van Dyke Show, and earlier when she was a kid, she was in movies. Rosemary. They didn't mention any of those people.
Rosemary.
Right, Rosemary.
Wow, she must have been 120.
Yes,
hey,
she
is
was.
Abe Vigoda still dead?
Yes, he's still dead. Dorothy Malone, who won Best Supporting Actress, wasn't mentioned. And Louis Gilbert, who was a director for films like Alfie, wasn't mentioned. And he just died a week ago. Toby Hooper, who gave us the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they left out a lot of people. You could argue that some of them were in TV, but if you don't want to argue, if you want to argue that, you can't. Adam West made a movie of Batman.
I think Glenn Campbell actually won an Oscar for the song.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure.
No, Rhinestone Cowboy wasn't the song from True Grit.
No, more recently, like 3 years ago, I think he won an Oscar or was nominated. I'm not sure if he won, but I know he was nominated for a song in a movie.
Wow.
Like 2015.
So so they missed a lot of people.
Hey, did they put
I have to say
Princess Leia in?
Alex,
what?
when you came back from The Shape of Water, you said you thought it was going to win, and you did.
Well, I hoped it would win. I thought that maybe Get Out was going to win because of the way they weight the voting in the Oscars. But I was happy that Shape of Water won. I thought it was just a really beautifully done motion picture. It's the art of movies. It's the art of movies.
Clint Eastwood film on Saturday, 1517 Paris. It was amazing what he was able to do with non-professional actors.
Yeah. Turned out a terrible movie. So anyway,
it wasn't so bad. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, tell that to Ray, who is a professional actor who could have stood to get the work. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to go. Hey, say goodbye, Phil.
Goodbye, Phil.
Say goodbye, Jeff.
Good night.
Kevin, say good night.
Good night, Kevin.
Ray.
Good night, Ray.
Say good night, Rob.
Good night.
Say good night, Tony.
Night tomorrow.
John, say good night.
And of course,
no, I said Tony. And say good night, Gracie. Everybody, give a big wave goodbye so they can see that you love them and that you think the world of them. That's our citizens panel, folks. That's the way it goes. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Where's me? Okay. They're gone. Let me hang up on them. I got to get rid of them because I have to hang up on this whole thing so that I can let the next show, which is the intersection with Jack and Amy, come by next over most of the same GabNet. It will be followed at midnight Eastern Time by Connections. And then tomorrow night at 8:30, we had a full night of programming. It's the Arena with the franchise MC. At 9:30, Damian Chaplin will be here with the Exchange. And then I will be back again here tomorrow night at 10. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye.